Hi, I'm Dr. Jeff Donatello, and if you're watching this video, then you or someone you know or love suffers from irritable bowel syndrome or some other gastrointestinal disorder. Well, I have a very personal connection to this because for many years, I too suffered from irritable bowel syndrome. As a triathlete, I would run and bike many miles, and I was constantly looking for the next tree or the next porta toilet, somewhere to go to help myself out when I had problems. The bloating, the gas, the diarrhea it's not a good way to go through life. So basically I spent many years studying how to help myself, and I stumbled about 2 years ago across a system called metabolic medicine. And what I found is that you, or most people with irritable bowel, have not been through the proper lab tests. There's lots of things going on that we now can test for, which we do every day in our office to help people with irritable bowel. Your gut liner, you can have what's called leaky gut, and your gut doesn't absorb nutrients properly. So we want to make sure we can rule that out. That's a big one for people with irritable bowel. So if you haven't been tested for a leaky gut, that's huge because that alone can be your problem. There are 5 major foods that cause inflammation in your gut. And when that happens, that causes your immune system to be off. So usually people with irritable bowel have other symptoms. We have sensitivity testing that we do every day in our office for people to rule out those foods. And when we rule those foods out, you can't eat those foods anymore, but guess what? Your symptoms tend to go away. So there's many other things that we do daily here to help people. So I put together this video. Hopefully it'll give you some information, and in the near future we can meet and you too can get rid of your GI system dysfunction or your irritable bowel problems. Thank you. I specialize in the field of metabolic medicine, and in the next few minutes I intend to open your eyes to a new and effective way to treat irritable bowel syndrome and other gastrointestinal disorders. I will show you how, if treated properly, IBS can be cured. There's nothing worse than being bloated, having severe cramps, diarrhea, or even being constipated. And you should not have to worry about where the closest toilet is all day long. Metabolic medicine is concerned with finding the primary cause of why your GI tract is not functioning correctly, not just dealing with the symptoms. More than likely you've been to your medical doctor, maybe more than one. And what did he or she give you? Well, if you have constipation, they probably start off with things like fiber supplements, products like Metamucil or Citracel. And if you have diarrhea, well, you certainly tried Imodium, everyone has. But when that didn't work, the doctors advised you to take drugs. Powerful drugs, well-marketed drugs, that try to speed you up if you have constipation or slow you down if you have diarrhea. They may have even given you antidepressants. Even though you didn't want to take them, at least you're happier now, but with the same old IBS symptoms. It can be frustrating. But what are you supposed to do? Because until this moment you have been given no other real options that actually work. But IBS has also probably stopped you from enjoying certain aspects of your life. But life is short and you deserve to be able to enjoy it to its fullest. So you're obviously looking for answers to your problem, and I want to assure you that this is the place for those answers. And that's because I've been trained on how to look for the cause of the war your GI tract is waging against you. Not just to mask symptoms with drugs and send you on your way. It's very possible that your symptoms came on after a serious stressor of some type, and this is common for people with IBS. Not the normal run-of-the-mill stress, but something significant. The stressor probably occurred within the last 5 years, and your health has never been the same since. And it usually was one of 3 things. It was either a physical stress, a chemical stress, or mental stress. So let's talk about that a little bit here. A physical stress like a car accident, or a fall, or even something smaller but consistently stressing on your body like poor ergonomic work conditions can all bring on irritable bowel syndrome. And emotional stress can be even worse. For some people it's financial, other people it's family issues, and for many, especially in this recession, it's their job. And if the stress is not physical or mental, then you may have been exposed to a chemical stressor of some kind, and we need to figure this out soon. Things like pesticides, molds, heavy metals such as mercury, lead, and aluminum, these are much more common than you may realize. We just had a patient that was full of heavy metals, and we're in the process of taking those metals out of his body, and he's going to be a lot better. But these things, these stressors, they often lead to irritable bowel syndrome, and in short, stress can damage your bowels. So how do we find the cause? By being thorough. A large part of functional medicine is being an expert in lab testing. There are state-of-the-art lab tests we will have performed to determine the exact root cause of your problem. So we go through a metabolic assessment. We check for the following. The first thing we want to rule out is anemias.
If oxygen isn't transporting through your body properly, then you cannot heal. We need to rule that out, and quite frequently we find patients with undiagnosed different types of anemias. We also want to rule out gut function. There's a thing called leaky gut, where your gut liner, which controls 70% of your immune function, isn't functioning properly and is allowing different things to cross over the barrier into your bloodstream, causing issues. So we want to rule out gut function and make sure your gut is working perfectly. Adrenal gland function is very, very important. Your adrenal glands spit out cortisol at a steady rate throughout the day, and we can measure this. If your adrenals are off, then your health is not going to be anywhere near where it should be. Blood sugar issues. Many people have, in this day and age, diabetes, but even more people are pre-diabetic or dysglycemic, and we want to make sure that we understand if that's going on in your body, because there are many things we can do to balance your blood sugars in diet and supplementation, so we want to rule that out also. Food sensitivities. There are 5 major foods that cause inflammation, and those foods are gluten, corn, soy, dairy, and egg. And there's a test that we can very easily perform on you to determine if you are sensitive to any of those foods. And if they are, you have to take them out of your diet. An autoimmune disease. About 40% of the population presently has a genetic predisposition to being autoimmune. And if you are autoimmune, then that trumps everything. We need to rule autoimmune disease out. And there's a specific way we treat people who are autoimmune, and they do very, very well. So these are all things that your other doctors probably have overlooked or more than likely just don't understand. We leave no stone unturned in finding the cause. And once we find the cause, we can narrow in on the specifics and actually treat what's causing your symptoms, not just treat the symptoms themselves. Whatever it was that got you to this point, the cause of irritable bowel syndrome is typically inflammation somewhere in the body. And that's what metabolic medicine is all about, finding the exact cause of the inflammation and putting out the fire. I personally suffered from IBS, and thankfully, over years, figured out how to heal myself, and I know I can help you also. You can be cured.